And welcome to our third session for the Vajrasattva practice. It has been a delight to be able to work with Vajrasattva in 3 sections so that we can get a good feel for Vajrasattva and that we have an opportunity to work with the 100-syllable mantra and to feel comfortable with the whole process for purification. So I'm delighted that we could do Vajrasattva in 3 sessions. We'll begin with the aspiration for our evening. And perhaps you have the page or perhaps not. I will read it. So for the aspiration, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings always be free from pain and suffering. And from Shantideva, for as long as space abides, as long as the world remains, just so long may I be there, resolving all beings' pain. And the request for teachings, reflecting on all beings, our specific states of mind, great or lesser, will you please turn our wheel of Dharma now? So we can ask the energy of Vajrasattva to join us in our evening of meditation. And we're going to do the Vajrasattva mantra. Before we do, I wanted to take an opportunity to talk about an interesting topic of translucent awareness. When we're working with deity practice, and deities are considered the resplendent dimension, it's as if it's almost like a rainbow. It's intangible, and it's said to be a realm of enjoyment. And also within that realm of enjoyment is Vajrasattva, who's dressed in silks and jewels and holding a vajra and a bell. So we have Vajrasattva, who is in a rainbow-like form, a translucent type form. And at the same time that we're doing the Vajrasattva mantra, when the Vajrasattva deity in Yabdyum dissolves into us, our bodies become also translucent. And if we reflect upon the quality of mind of an enlightened being, it is also crystal clear and translucent. So it's as if our creation stage, and creation stage, as we know, is that initial visualization of the deity. And then in the dissolution state, when the deity dissolves, showing nothing impermanent, nothing is permanent, and showing us the way of impermanence. When the deity dissolves within us, we become that. And our translucent awareness, that crystal clear mind, and that translucent body is ours. And then we are the ones, as Vajrasattva, doing the shortened Vajrasattva mantra. And then we are also sending out the rays of the 5 Buddha families to all sentient beings. And at that point, we are the ones benefiting others. So Vajrasattva made a pledge, and that pledge was to be there for all of us who wanted to purify our minds. And there's a phrase that's we haven't worked with, but we will. which is reveal wrongs, rejoice virtue. So in the purification process, sometimes we can feel like, well, it's all purification, it's all the mental states, the old habits, some physical ailments that's coming through. When will it ever end? And the whole point of Vajrasattva is that all of that does get purified. And we talked about in the first session that all that energy goes to the Lord of Death and all the ones that we owe those karmic debts to. And they are very satisfied. They are very happy. And so it transforms. And so the creation and completion is all about transformation. So we want to make sure that we're holding a very balanced view when we do purification practice. Reveal wrongs, rejoice virtue, so that we also reflect on all of our positive qualities, and we become all of our positive qualities as the whole dissolution practice happens. Tibetan Buddhism is very focused on not having extremes, no eternalism and no nihilism. So the quality of balance is super important. It's a very important approach to have, especially when we take on purification. And it's equally important in meditation practice, because in meditation practice, whether we're doing Vajrasattva or not doing Vajrasattva, that which needs to leave will arise. So maybe some old emotional states, maybe some old difficult thoughts, maybe some old memories of difficult encounters, but it all will arise in whatever manner. And sometimes it's as a thought, an emotion, a feeling, sometimes just like a sense of things. The one thing that I love about Vajrasattva practice is that it really addresses an almost intangible sense of things, like something was uncomfortable and we almost don't know what it is, but still we do the Vajrasattva practice for that kind of residue. There's a little something left over. So we're doing Vajrasattva practice to go to the very depths. And that's the point. And then once that is purified, then the clarity of mind, the crystal clear awareness, the actually embodiment of Vajrasattva. And within Buddhist context, the enlightened mind has always been there. And so we are very blessed to have these practices that can help us come back to that transparent awareness, so to that translucent awareness. And so that is the reason that we do Vajrasattva practice. I was very fortunate to have ordered a new copy of Heart Essence of the Vast Expanse by Anne Carolyn Klein, also known as Rizindroma. And she has updated some of the translation work for the book. And so within the Heart Essence of the Vast Expanse, there is a section, of course, on Vajrasattva. And so what she did was to give what she calls like a general translation of Vajrasattva. And I want to read that to you. And then also I'm going to read you her revised section. So again, she calls it a free verse translation. So basically it's the gist of Vajrasattva. Om Vajrasattva, keep your pledge. Vajrasattva, reside in me. Make me stable. Make me sacred, and fulfill me and make me compassionate. Grant me all the feats called cities, and make my mind virtuous in all actions. Whom, ha 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 ho, all blessed Tathagatas, which means all the Buddhas, do not abandon me. Unify with me, great pledge beings, Ahum Pet. So that gives a general free verse translation, as she calls it. And this is quite nice because essentially, when we do the 100-syllable mantra, that's what we are doing. We're reminding Vajrasattva, we're connecting with Vajrasattva of Vajrasattva's pledge, and the pledge is to us. And so we begin with our visualization with our on a lotus and moon above our crowns with the whom, and from which Lama Vajrasattva arises white, luminous Vajra bell, adorned with 13 resplendent dimensions, jewels, and garments. Ahum, on the moon disk, is the father, mother, and Yabum. And their hearts, from their hearts, there is the encircling whom. So in their hearts, there is the whom, and the mantra circles. And then there's a descent of the nectar, and whereby it comes in through the crown of our head, through our bodies, as we've been doing, and whereby illnesses, harmful human and non-human, known as don, as well as any faults, any blocks, any of it is cleared away. So we make a very simple creation of Vajrasattva. And as we said, that's called the creation phase. Very simple. And the sense of it is the deity, white, jeweled, Yabum. And then from the heart center, and that's the pledge, comes the nectar. So we'll take some time to do our 100-syllable mantra. And I know that some of you know it very well, and some of you are learning it and practicing it, which is fabulous. And so we'll do it together, and we will do the 21 Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenapa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Suto Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarasiti Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsame Siram Shridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tathagata Benzra Mame Munsa Benzri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pet. So I will count for you. You don't have to worry about a text unless you want it in front of you for learning, which I totally understand. And sometimes it's good to be able to watch, view the text. And sometimes it's just the listening. So however it's comfortable, whether you just want to hear when I speak the Vajrasattva 100-syllable mantra, which we've done one, by the way, and I will be counting on my mala here. And then we'll do the 21, and then we'll do the dissolution. So by now we're getting familiar with Vajrasattva, and I want to add this luminous quality, this really gorgeous quality, and at the same time translucent quality, So we ourselves can get associated with that gorgeous translucent mind, that clarity, that really brings so much to life. You know, like a clear lake becomes everything is very visible, very tangible, delectable even. So we want that. And at the same time, while we're doing our Vajrasattva mantra, remember to reveal wrongs and rejoice virtue. And we'll continue. So we're on to, I will move on to the second one, but we're counting. Om Bensrasata Samaya Manupalaya Bensrasata Tenapa Tishto Drado Me Bawa Suto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensramame Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Ped Om Bensra Sata Samaya Manupalaya Bensra Sata Tenapa Tishto Drado Me Bawa Suto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensramame Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pad Om Bensra Sata Samaya Manupalaya Bensra Sata Tenapa Tishto Drado Me Bawa Sutto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensra Mame Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pad Om Bensrasata Samaya Manupalaya Bensrasata Tenapa Tishto Drado Me Bawa Suto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Shridam Shridam Guru Hung Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensri Mame Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Ped Om Bensra Sata Samaya Manupalaya Bensra Sata Tenapa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Suto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensra Mame Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pad Om Bensra Sata Samaya Manupalaya Bensra Sata Tenapa Tishto Drado Me Bawa Suto Kayo Me Bawa Supa Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensri Mame Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pad Om Bensra Sata Samaya Manupalaya Bensra Sata Tenapa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Suto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensri Mame Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pe Om Bensra Sata Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenapa, Tishto Jado Me Bawa, Suto Kayo Me Bawa, Supo Kayo Me Bawa, Anurakta Me Bawa, Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa, Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me, Sridam Sridam Guru Hung, Ha 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 Ho, Bhagawan, Sarva Tata Gata, Bensri Mame Munsa, Bensri Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pe, Om Bensra Sata Samaya Manupalaya, Bensra Sata Tenapa, Tishto Drado Mebawa, Sutto Kayo Mebawa, Supo Kayo Mebawa, Anurakta Mebawa, Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa, Sarva Karma Tsutsame, Sridam Sridam Guru Hung, Ha 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 Ho, Bhagawan, Sarva Tata Gata, Bensri Mame Munsa, Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya, Sata Ahum Pe, Om Bensra Sata Samaya, Manupalaya, Bensra Sata Tenapa, Tishto Drado Me Bawa, Suto Kayo Me Bawa, Supo Kayo Me Bawa, Anurakta Me Bawa, Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa, Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me, Sridam Sridam Guru Hung, Ha 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 Ho, Bhagawan, Sarva Tata Gata, Bensri Mame Munsa, Bensri Bawa, Mahasamaya, Sata Ahum Pet, Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenapa Tishto Jado Mebawa Suto Kayo Mebawa Supo Kayo Mebawa Anurakta Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensri Mame Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pet Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tanapa Tishto Jado Mebawa Sutto Kayo Mebawa Supo Kayo Mebawa Anurakta Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensri Meme Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Ped Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenapa Tisho Jado Mebawa Suto Kayo Mebawa Supo Kayo Mebawa Anurakta Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensri Mame Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pet Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenapa Tishto Jado Mebawa Suto Kayo Mebawa Supo Kayo Mebawa Anurakta Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensri Mame Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pet Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenapa Tishto Jado Mebawa Suto Kayo Mebawa Supo Kayo Mebawa Anurakta Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensri Mame Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pet Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenapa Tishto Jado Mebawa Suto Kaya Mebawa Supo Kaya Mebawa Anurakta Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensri Mame Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pet Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenapa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Sutto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensri Mame Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pet Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenapa Tista Jado Me Bawa Sutta Kayo Me Bawa Supa Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsitsa Me Sridam Guru Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensri Mame Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pet Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenapa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Sutto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensri Mame Munsa Bensri Bawa Maha Samaya Sata Ahum Pet. Last one. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenapa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Sutto Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Bensri Mime Munsa Bensri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pet. So we'll do this shortened version. And so now Vajrasattva melts into light. And this light dissolves in me so that the vessels and the essences, the world and its beings, are transformed from Buddhas and their pure lands, and they dissolve into each of us. And so our whole being begins to shine with that transparent, lucent awareness where we become Vajrasattva. Within our heart center is the blue hung, and then the shortened mantra, which we will do a whole mala, 100 of the shortened Om Benzra Sata Hung. So the Hung within our heart centers, we as Vajrasattva, and surrounded is Om Benzra Sata Hung. And these are rays of white, red, blue, green, yellow lights. And they are twirling within our own heart centers. And those rays are going and blessing all beings, while we ourselves have a very strong heart center with Om Vajrasattva Hung. So I will repeat the Om Vajrasattva Hung, and we will do what's called a whole mala. A mala is 108 beads, but they count as 100. And so we, as Vajrasattvas, and the room full of Vajrasattvas will share in the mantra of Om Vajrasattva Hung. Om Vajrasattva Hung, 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 Om Vajrasattva Hung. And now, within our heart centers, we draw all of the colors back into the blue hung, and we sit in the radiance of the blue hung. And then, as part of the dissolution, the blue hung also dissolves. It dissolves from the bottom of the hung all the way up to the very tippy top. And as it slowly dissolves, moment by moment, and then as it dissolves into the very top of the hung, we let our minds then rest in the dissolution and take a moment and feeling the completion. The completion is the dissolution back into the open, translucent awareness of mind. And we'll take a moment for that. And then very slowly, we come back into our own ordinary appearance. And we'll take a few moments to reflect on this practice that we have just done together. So we have done the creation phase. The creation is the visualization, the bringing to mind, the sensing of Vajrasattva, and the 100-syllable mantra. And then we ourselves became Vajrasattva, and were able to compassionately help all sentient beings with the vibration, the sensation, the syllables of the mantra as purification for all sentient beings. And then we again dissolve. It's called completion. Completion of the practice, completion of the visualization, back into its ultimate reality, that open, spacious, clear awareness from whence it came. And then we take a moment to even dissolve the seed syllable, the hung, and then come into a very natural resting awareness where we settle into that clarity of mind. Even if thoughts arise, it's still within that clear, open awareness. And then we again come into ourselves, come into our normal bodies, and to continue the practice. And next time of practice, then we will move into our mandala offerings, and that will be in our next section. But we have taken the time for the Vajrasattva because it's very precious. It's also sometimes not talked about in such a clear way, but it's a complete act of compassion. And that compassion is really holding us as we move through each step of the Nunjo practice. And the compassion aspect of the Vajrasattva is not only the Vajrasattva's statement that Vajrasattva will help us with our purification, but also when we come and look directly at something that might be very difficult, it's really an act of compassion. It's an act of strength, but it's an act of compassion. Compassion is some aspect of our mind that knows suffering and yet knows it in such a way that it's held with love, and it's held with the understanding of what the suffering actually is. So purification is an act of compassion, and it's always important to remember that when we're working with purification practices, it's within an environment of completely being held with love, completely being held with understanding, and at the same time with the intentionality of purifying the mind. So all of these elements fit very well together. So we'll have some time for questions, and we'll also have some time to talk about the next practices that we'll be doing. But first, we will close for this evening's Vajrasattva practice and session, and then we will go to our question section, which, as everybody now knows, is not recorded, but it's a time where we can share and talk about our practice and ask anything that may be lingering. So will we have some closing prayers?
Thank you, Jacqueline. Dedication. By this good, may I swiftly once become a great guru, lead all beings, everyone, to reach to that very ground.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you all.